contract types defines the type of terms and conditions there could be in a given contract. In this video, we will talk about three basic contract types: fixed price, cost reimbursable, and time and material. Let's look at fixed price contract type first. Fixed price. Let's start with an example. If we have to outsource a work and we want a single one quotation or a price from the vendor, we can go for a fixed price contract. For example, if you want to go for a holiday package, the hotel is giving you a 3 nights, 2 days package, and it includes few things and it excludes rest of the things. And the given specification comes to you with a fixed price. So fixed price is a type of contract where scope of work is defined, terms and conditions are defined, and the value, the money the buyer will pay is also fixed. Now, in the fixed price contract, what kind of role a buyer can play? Now, in the fixed price contract, buyer has a clear visibility of his expenses. So he knows the expense flow. He is least bothered about the execution of the project because the vendor has to ensure things get done as per the specification in a given amount of price. So he is not involved in administration of a contract. Now, it looks everything good for the buyer, but yes, there is a one risk. If he wants to change something in the given project scope, it will cost more. So changes costs more. In a way, only go for a fixed price contract when you know the scope. So the probability of changes can be reduced. From a seller's perspective, first thing it's a risky project. Because if anything goes wrong, he has to pay for it. Buyer has given a fixed amount of money. If it costs more, seller has to pay. If it costs less, seller will save. And that is a disadvantage for the buyer. If the complete work is done in less amount of cost, the seller will save the money. But seller also need to ensure that changes are controlled. Now, if the change is not controlled well, the seller is at risk because buyer has only given X amount of money. In a different way, seller will ensure for each new change he get paid for it. Seller can also project his cash inflow and outflow because the money is fixed, the terms are declared. Now, in this type of contract, as you can see, the seller is at risk. Usually, seller put a buffer on the price which the amount of work should cost. So the risk buffer or contingency buffer is always added by the seller before he quotes the final price to the buyer. So in a way, buyer may end up paying more for a given work because since seller is managing risk, he may transfer that risk by way of adding some amount of extra premium cost on a work. So may pay more since seller is putting buffer. Now, by this discussion, you must have realized when to use a fixed price contract. When the project scope, the amount of work is quite clear, and you can also verify is this work has been done or not done. So the acceptance criteria or a done criteria of a given work also should be independently and objectively verifiable. Now there are few variants of fixed price contract. These variants are the first variants which we talk about, firm fixed price. So in general, whenever we talk about fixed price, it's a firm fixed price. Means we don't expect any increase or decrease in that price. It's a fixed, it's a firmly fixed. You take the work and you get X amount of money in return. The second variant of the fixed price contract could be fixed price with incentive fee, FPIF. Now in this, the price is fixed, but if you meet some of the performance criteria, like if you deliver 1 month in advance, I as a buyer is willing to pay you 10,000 for that early delivery. So in this contract, we try to identify conditions which can qualify seller for incentive fee. Fixed price with economical price adjustment, EPA. Now, if you are dealing in a type of project where the cost of some of the economic indicator or an impact of some of the economic indicator can derail your project or can impact it badly. In that particular case, in a fixed price contract, there could be a clause that if there is a change in, say, gold rate, metal rate, steel rate, exchange rate, and etc., recognized economical indicator, that can impact the total cost of the project. So by putting this clause, a seller is trying to mitigate his risk from an economical price adjustment which can happen in the surrounding environment. If you are consuming good amount of steel in executing your project, then you may want to put that clause in your project that, okay, I will do this work. I know I have managed my human resource, but steel is a raw material and I cannot bear the complete fluctuation risk of this steel. So I want to put a one clause in it that on the basis of index rate of steel, I can change the price of the final outcome. Now, few examples before we move to the next contract type. Holiday packages are fixed price. You get a defined scope. You know that 2 days, 3 nights, this is the type of room you will get, and these are the given meals you will get there. If you want something extra, you need to pay for it, and sometimes more than the regular money. If you are buying a flat, a constructed flat, usually it goes through a fixed price. You pay an EMI, you know that these are the milestones, and your final output, money outflow is fixed. So you know that this is the final money I have to pay for this flat. Similarly, the construction project, if you are constructing a big dam or a big infrastructure project, you may want to put economical price adjustment clause in it. So these could be used for an example for fixed type process. Now, cost reimbursable. As this name indicates, it means as a buyer, I will reimburse your cost. Whatever you spend, in doing my work, I will pay it back. Plus, I will pay you something so that you can work for me. That is a intent and the fundamental of cost reimbursable project. So let's look at from the dimension of buyer, seller, and some variants of cost reimbursable. Now, as a buyer, you are taking risk because the seller has no incentive to control the cost. You have given him complete liberty. Whatever you spend, spend. I will reimburse it. But in order to control that liberty, you also need to control the execution of procurement, or you need to admin the contract very carefully. So you may get into the details. What are you buying? Why are you buying? Why this quality? Those kind of clarification you may ask from your seller. An example, if you are going for a car service, whatever part or things which get replaced or get consumed while servicing your car, you need to reimburse it. And that is why the provider or service provider keep taking confirmation from you at various stages for the amount of work or the material he changes in your car, because it's a cost reimbursable contract. So buyer risky, need to control more, but good when flexibility is needed. Now you don't know what you are looking for. You may change the scope. You may change the goal of a project very frequently. And since these changes are needed, that is a type of project or work you are in, you may want to give a liberty to your supplier to reimburse whatever he is doing. So this type of project brings a flexibility for the change. As a seller, you have low risk because risk is taken care by the buyer. Your profit is more or less assured because whatever you are spending, you are getting it back. You may need to follow more communication because for each and every purchase or changes you do in the project, you need to keep the documentation with you, because these are the documentation which must be submitted to the buyer so they can ensure or verify that you are going in a right direction. Requires less admin or change control activity. Since this is the need, that is why this type of control or a project type, contract type we are in, because we need changes frequently. So in that case, seller is not worried about change control much, because the buyer is the one he should be worried about managing changes, because he is all the changes. Variance. Cost reimbursable with fixed fee, cost plus fixed fee. In this, you get the complete cost reimbursed plus a fixed amount of money. Examples, media buying agencies. If you are running a campaign for some company, usually they will go for cost reimbursable contract. It can go in a form of cost plus fixed fee, or it can go in the form of cost plus percentage of fee. In this case, whatever you spend, on a percentage of your spending, you get your fees. Means, if you buy a media or a campaign work, if you spend $10,000 in that campaign, you get percentage on $10,000. If you spend $20,000, you get percentage on $20,000. Stock or portfolio management services are usually done in the form of cost plus fixed fee. The other possible variant for this is cost plus incentive fee and cost plus award fee. Now, in both the cost plus incentive fee and cost plus award fee, we try to have a ceiling or a total estimated budget for a project. And we says that if you do the things in less than this, or if you identify some criteria which can trigger or which can help you to claim for the incentive. So we identify some objectively defined criteria, and if you meet them, we will provide incentive on top of your cost reimbursement. The cost plus award fee is more or less same, but the criteria for awards are usually subjective. They are not clearly objectively defined, and award cannot be claimed or taken into dispute or at a court, because award is more or less on the discretion of the buyer. So he may say that, okay, if I feel satisfied, if you do few things, I will award X amount of money to you. The third type is time and material. Now, it's a hybrid type of contract. In this, we are taking few things fixed, like man and material rate is fixed, but the amount of time you would be spending on the project is variable. So in a way, you will reimburse the cost with a fixed rate. So if I give you a 10 people for 10 months, you will reimburse me on the basis of a fixed rate per person. Now, similar like cost reimbursable, the buyer has high risk, need to control the project or procurement, because he has a responsibility of utilizing this man and material provided in this contract. Now here buyer has another responsibility. Think of a staff augmentation project. Staff augmentation projects are usually time and material, where as a supplier I am providing you 10 resources. So these 10 resources will work on your testing. So I am charging $1,000 per resource per month. So that's the contract. I will provide you the test engineers. They will cost $1,000 1 month per month, and that's it. Now buyer has a responsibility to ensure that you get a good tester, because the quality may vary. A tester 1 may not be equal to the tester 2. So in this case, buyer has to ensure that time and material which is coming with a fixed rate should be of good quality. Since rate is fixed, but the quality responsibility goes with the buyer. As a seller, you are safe, so risk is low. You are primarily not that much involved in a project. You are just supplying people. So primarily less project management work, because more project management work is taken care by the buyer. No variant, good to use when you want to start soon. When the buyer want to take control of the work, the buyer only need some kind of material and human resource from you, and rest of the things remains with the buyer. Cost reimbursable, good when we have specialized or creative skills needed, and when the scope is very flexible. Even the material needed is also not known. In case of time and material, we know that these are the time, these are the people, and these would be the material which would be required. But in the cost reimbursable, you may not be even sure about man and material needed for executing that project. So that's why when you have that particular scenario, go with cost reimbursable. In practice, you may find multiple variants which are using some elements of these three basic contract types.